You're tuned in to the hottest sports analysis of the week with your hosts Ron Dolbeck and Chris Roberts. And now, here's the first round.
Whoa! It's a Wednesday live on YouTube. I am so excited to be here. You have no idea how pumped I am. There's so much great stuff going on. You're in the first round with Ron Dolbeck, the rest of the crew here in our St. Jude studios. But today is just awesome for so many reasons. You ever just wake up and you just have a sense it's going to be an awesome day? So it hasn't been an awesome day up until this point. Now I'm going to start talking sports to you people. We appreciate you joining us here in the first round. And there's so much to talk about, like every week in November and every week in October. There's MMA, there's boxing, there's college football, you got hockey, you got NBA, who cares? College hoops, who cares? NFL. So much stuff going on. First, let me introduce my co-host, Chris Roberts. Something has to be going on with you, Chris, because I've noticed the last couple weeks when I say, hey, what's going on with you? Nothing. No, somebody died, somebody won the lottery, somebody got pregnant. Something's got to be going on in your life besides your car breaking down, you can't find your keys, something.
Well, I get to chaperone 8-year-olds tomorrow.
You gotta do better than that, man. I didn't wait all day to hear that.
Yeah, man, I get to chaperone 8-year-olds all day tomorrow at Animal Kingdom. Hooray.
You know, I feel like I was supposed to join you on that, and I've got a cold, a little cold cubby god, a little congestion. I'm not gonna be able to see. That's what you do. I can't. I got a cold, and then they're like, hey, he loves the kids so much, he doesn't want to be there for that cold. So much stuff going on. Let's get started with the biggest stories in sports right now this weekend. And we've got to start with college football. Number 4, Georgia. For all our Georgia listeners out there tonight, it's good to see you guys. Thanks for joining us in the first round. Number 4, Georgia in the SEC championship game goes up against LSU. Power, dynamite, electric offense. This is going to be great. I think it's going to be a super, super tough play game, but I'm having concerns with Georgia. DeAndre Swift listed as probable. 2 other players. One's going to be out for a half, a wide receiver. The other one's out totally. I want to get into this game. The spread on it is 7 points. That's maybe not enough. I don't know. We'll be talking about that. The number 1 team in the country, Ohio State Buckeyes, go to Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis to take on a resurgent number 8 Wisconsin team who's 10-2 on the season. What do I love about this game? Everything on Ohio State's side. Justin Fields only has 37 touchdowns and 1 interception. Ray Boom Boom, is this thing on? 37 touchdowns and 1 interception. You heard me right the first time. Chris and I are going to break this down. We have all kinds of stats, analysis, and most of all, my teaser pick of the week. I'm 13-1 this year. 13-1. How many times have you gone to the bank this year and cashed checks because of my picks? You're welcome. Let's go to the ACC Championship. Number 3, Clemson, 12-0, takes on Sacrificial Lamb, Virginia, who's ranked 23rd in the country. Bronco Mendenhall has done a good job coming over from BYU a couple years ago. He's got the Virginia team 9-3. They're playing fairly tough. They have a dual-threat quarterback. I don't think it's going to be enough. And you know what? I'm reaching into my telepathic waves. Neither do you. You know Clemson's going to win this game. We're still going to cover it. Out in the Pac-12 Championship, Utah at number 5 right now. Smelling, sniffing, scratching, trying to get into the college playoffs. They'll have to beat Oregon. And Justin Herbert, the star quarterback, probably first-round NFL draft pick. The only thing I'm not liking is 2 games ago, 2 interceptions. Justin Herbert looked bipolar against Arizona State and the Fighting Herminators. I don't think that's going to be the case. That's a little teaser. Oregon's getting 6.5 points. Let's talk about one of the best talents in college football. The Big 12 championship game rematch between Oklahoma, 11-1, ranked 6th in the country, going up against Baylor. These 2 teams met a couple weeks ago. Baylor's 11-1. They're getting 8 points. I think that Baylor has a tough team. I think Matt Rule has done a great job turning it around. Chris and I will get into that, give you our picks on it so you can go make money this weekend. NFL news, Ron Rivera, out! He's fired by the Panthers. I got a lot of reasons why. It should have happened a little bit earlier. Does that mean that Cam is the next one who's going to be walking out the door showing us his back? Probably. Bruce Arians comes out and has some explosive comments about Jameis Winston, my favorite guy in the NFL. If you need a touchdown, He's not the guy to call. He's the interception magnet. We'll get into that. NBA. I don't know if you guys saw this game last night. San Antonio against Houston. All I'm going to say is it was the biggest colossal collapse I've ever seen by a ref, almost ever, on a slam dunk. I mean, it was so amazing. I'm going to get into that play. We've got Major League Baseball news about the Tampa Bay Rays. They've kicked this around for a while, wanting to play home games in Tampa and in Montreal. I mean, how much cocaine is this group doing that's in the offices of the Tampa Bay Rays to say we're going to have split our home games between Montreal and Tampa? You can't even get people to come to the games in Tampa. They were the second lowest attendance in MLB last year. Having said that, I'm not as out of breath as I usually am, Chris, but I'm excited about this weekend.
Man, me too, man. I'm very excited. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I'm actually going to
What's the biggest game that you're looking forward to?
Georgia LSU.
Georgia LSU. Why?
LSU. Simply because
It just happens to be the game we're starting with, but why is that the big one?
Because it has so many implications. I mean, if Georgia loses, that opens up the Big 12.
They're out.
That opens up
Georgia's out.
Pac-12 as well. So it opens up so many different scenarios.
Oh, last week we had a chance, but I put the kibosh on it,
Right.
talking about all the different scenarios that are out there, and if 2 wins and I'm like, you know what? I mean, I'm going out of my mind.
Right.
I'm not the guy to talk to about all the scenarios. I want to look at exactly what happened, take the results, digest that, and then see where teams are supposed to be. Because, like you said, there's too many scenarios. But I know one. Georgia loses, they're out.
Right.
No problem. If LSU loses, I could still see them landing at 4 possibly.
That to me, it will happen.
They got a lot of victories over top 12. Yeah, their strength of schedule. Yeah. That's going to be a tight window. Yeah. But let's get into that game. Number 4, Georgia, goes to Atlanta for the second week in a row. Hopefully their wide receivers won't be getting in fights in this game and getting suspended. This is going to be an uphill battle, getting 7 points for Georgia going up against LSU, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, DeAndre Swift had the shoulder injury. He's listed as probable.
Right.
Here's the thing. Kirby Smart came out this week and said he's done everything in practice we've asked him to do. Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Why don't you tip the magic hat over so we can see if the rabbit's inside or not? I mean, what did you ask him to do? Is he just, jogging through stuff? Or are you really going through full pads practices leading up like you would in a normal week?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's probably going full tilt with the offense he's going to have to. I mean, with this LSU offense. However, but I'm kind of perplexed with Georgia because Georgia is known as running back U. Why would you continue to use Swift when you have so many 5-star running backs already in your fold? I mean,
that they haven't used all season.
Haven't used all season, right?
Right, yeah. That's my concern. Here's the thing when it comes to Georgia's offense, and I'm not real big on Twitter. I just got on Twitter, but I throw things out sparingly.
Right.
I like Jake Fromm.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got 21 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I would label him as effective but limited. Yes. He's an effective quarterback, but I think he's a limited quarterback. He's not the guy who's going to throw the deep threat against the top 25 defense. He's going to be the guy to get you, 10, 15 yards, bubble screens out to the sides. I know he's not going to lose the game for me. He's not going to throw interceptions. He's smart, but he's limited.
He's limited, but I also think he's limited because he has a limited outside receivers. I think had he had more receivers.
Wait, what about the play calling? How much of this goes on Kirby?
Well, I mean, a lot of it does go on the offensive coordinator because he's trying to manage the game.
None of their wide receivers has 500 yards receiving or more than 33 catches in the whole season. None of the Georgia wide receivers have more than 33 catches this season.
Yes,
if I'm a Georgia fan, I'm looking at going, hey, what are we doing here, pal?
And a lot of that
because they have recruited.
Right, they have recruited, but a lot of it does go on Jake Fromm too because this for some reason this season he has not been as accurate as we've known Jake Fromm to be seasons before. Yeah.
I've never thought of Jake Fromm as a dominant. I'm not putting Jake Fromm with what Joe Burrow has done this year. I just think they're two totally different things. I don't think of him as like some lights out explosive. I think of him as a game manager that's not going to make mistakes. But he's not going to be a deep threat either.
Well, I mean, looking at Jake Fromm, I mean, he has like the capability to have that deep threat. He has the confidence to throw the ball down the field. If you've seen Jake Fromm from high school all the way through his freshman year, he does have that capability to throw the ball down the field if he has the weapons. But the thing about Georgia's offense is it's molded after Alabama's offense. We're going to pound the ball. We're going to play solid defense. And that's how we're going to win the game.
I think the only way they're going to win the game is they've got to open it up, and they've got to stretch that field. Here's the problem with it. Last week, George Pickens in the Georgia Tech game gets into a fight. He's going to be out the whole first half. And their second wide receiver, Lawrence Cager, he's out with an ankle injury. I think he just had surgery about 5 or 6 days ago. He's out for the whole game.
Right.
So you've got two wide receivers. One's out for the half, one's out for the whole game. How are you going to stretch the field against a defense that's ranked 35th in the country? That's a big, big concern. Again, this is not Georgia bashing. This is just talking straight up talk. Right. I'd be super, super concerned. You already have a quarterback that's semi-limited who hasn't stretched the field. Now his two best weapons, one's out the whole game, the other one's out for the half, and we don't know what we're getting with DeAndre Swift. This picture is not starting to look good for Kirby Smart. They got to get creative and open it up on the offensive end.
Right. I mean, you have to do something where you put some of these wide receivers that you have that can catch the ball out of the backfield, like a James Cook, you can put him in the slot to take advantage of some of those situations where you have the running back line up against a linebacker and just take advantage. I mean, whether it's running wheel routes or whatnot. So you have to find ways in order to get some of your playmakers the ball, and that's what Georgia's going to have to do this week.
What am I getting with Georgia's defense? Everybody knows I use this term very sparingly, lockdown defense.
Right.
Georgia, I think, has a lockdown defense. Here's my concern with this is LSU is second in the country in offense. They're averaging 390 yards passing and 170 yards rushing.
Yes.
That's a lot of yards right there. Defense wins championships. This is a statement that comes out a lot, and that's true. But LSU has enough defense to stop Georgia.
Right.
It's just too much offense for Georgia, I think. I think the injuries, the suspension, we don't know what we're getting with DeAndre Swift. Jake Fromm has not been allowed to have the offense open up for whatever reason. Kirby Smith hasn't had a dynamic, electrifying offense. It's just a management offense. I mean, when you put up 21 against Kentucky in the last 5 or 6 games, I don't think they've scored 30 points one time. So I'm concerned about that. I'm taking LSU 27, Georgia 17 in a close, hard-fought game. I think LSU could maybe put up 34 and an extra touchdown during junk time. I don't know what I'm getting with DeAndre Swift in the backfield. It's just too many unknowns, too many injuries, too many suspensions, not enough consistency on offense. I'm taking LSU in the SEC championship.
And I'm taking LSU as well. And I can agree with that. I can go with that score too. I mean, I think that LSU will probably put up 34 points against that Georgia defense simply because eventually that defense does wear out over time when you're going to keep, when you have an offense that's kind of inept, especially going up against a defense like LSU. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think LSU, at the beginning of the season, we were hearing people talking about how LSU had a lockdown defense.
Right.
They haven't been locked down all year. In fact, at the beginning of the season, they gave up 38 points to Texas on the road, but it's Texas.
Right.
And then they gave up 38 points on the road to Vandy.
Yeah.
That's not lockdown defense.
No,
it's pretty good defense, and they're ranked in the top 35 of the country, and that's it. I like LSU in this game. Let's talk about the number one team in the country right now, the Ohio State Buckeyes, who look like they don't have a flaw anywhere. Jason Day has come in, and I don't even remember that last year Urban Meyer was coaching. I mean, it's been that much of a smooth transition.
Right.
The offense is just like weapons all over the place. You got Master Teague running the backfield. You got J.K. Dobbins. You got Justin Field at quarterback, 37 touchdowns, 1 interception. You got Chase Young on the end on defense. You got a top 5 lockdown defense. You got a top 5 team in offense nationwide. I just don't see any flaws. They're going up against a Wisconsin team that went up to Minnesota last week, got their record up to 10-2. I was really impressed with the way that they opened up their playbook, like I think Georgia needs to. Jack Cohen actually going down the field. It wasn't all just running with Jonathan Taylor. Right. They get a big win in the snow on the road against a quality team. But now, I mean, voodoo the second time around with Ohio State, I don't know how this game's going to play out. There's a huge, huge line on this game. 16.5 points. Which way are you going on it?
I'm taking those 16 points. I mean,
Ohio State's laying 16.5.
Yeah, I'm taking those 16 points. I mean, just look at what they did. Look at what they did to Michigan last week. And that game wasn't even close. I mean, just look at what they did to Michigan. Michigan has a top-ranked defense.
And so does
and
so
they
does
put up
Wisconsin.
like 50 points on Michigan.
I know, and that's what makes them so dominant. You know, we talked last week about how Ohio State has faced Michigan, Michigan State, Penn State, and who was the fourth team that they faced? Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, yeah.
And put up tons of points against all four of those teams while those teams were ranked in the top 15 nationally in terms of defense, overall defense. So they've done it against the best in the country. You can say, well, the Big Ten's down and they're not dominant. Yeah, but they did it against nationally ranked defenses.
Right.
And at the time they played them, before they blitzed them, they were ranked in the top 15. I don't know. Ohio State, here's the thing. Ohio State's offense right now is the average margin of victory is 38 points. They're averaging 50 points on offense. I don't know that Wisconsin can slow them down, but this is what I'm going to do. My teaser special for the week is I'm taking Wisconsin plus 22.5 points. I'm probably out of my mind. I probably don't know what I'm talking about. This type of pick is what keeps NFL executives from hiring me to be their GM. But I'm taking Wisconsin plus the points, even though Ohio State has the number 1 overall defense and the number 5 overall offense. 22.5 points to me in a championship game with Paul Chryst. I think Jack Cohn, the quarterback of Wisconsin, manages the game. No turnovers, stupid sacks, or interceptions. He manages the game, and you got to get Cephas into the game, their wide receiver. He's a burner on the outside. And then, of course, you've got Jonathan Taylor, who could go for, I'm not going to say he's going to go for 200, but if he gives you 85 to 105 yards, solid clock management, keep Ohio State's offense off the field, I'm going to take the 22 points. I hope this is what comes out.
For your sake, I hope so too. I mean, but that Ohio State, it has you lost for words, because at the beginning of the season, you have Justin Fields, who was an unproven commodity, coming in to be your starting quarterback, and this guy has 37 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Yep. And besides that, he's ran for almost 500 yards, and he's ran for 10 touchdowns.
And
and
that's scary.
I know. Like I said, I'm probably out of my mind. Yeah. I'm probably out of my mind, but I'm going to take the 22 points on my teaser special, 13-1 on the season. Let's go to the ACC championship game where Sacrificial Lamb Virginia shows up with a 9-3 record against Clemson, who's 12-0. And Dabo Swinney's still not happy. Look, Dabo, you win this game, you're in the playoff. I don't know what the whole, post-game thing was last week. That just sounded like a ridiculous rant from the crazy aunt lives in the basement that we only bring out once a year around Christmas. I have no idea what that rant was about, but let's talk about Virginia real quick. Bronco Mendenhall comes over from BYU a couple years ago and takes a program with Virginia that's been committed to mediocrity for the better part of 10 years right now.
Right.
I mean, they haven't even been a blip on the ACC radar. So he's got him in the Coastal, which is, you could have reached into a handbag and picked out the team that was going to win the Coastal. But 9-3, they beat their in-state rival Virginia Tech last week and get it done. And I think that he's done a great job there. I just think that he's walking into, instead of running into, he's walking into a buzzsaw that most people in the country are really underrating right now in Clemson.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to that whole Dabo Swinney, I think he's taking the whole Rodney Dangerfield thing to the extreme with no respect. Because when you think about it, Clemson was the national championship, and they have been underhanded, really behind the scenes blowing people out.
Yeah, but how are they so underrated, or is it just me that thinks they're underrated?
I feel like Clemson is underrated, but then again, you have to look at the fact that the ACC conference is down compared to some of those other conferences as well.
Yeah.
So, it's understandable, but Dabo Swinney is looking at it. Why are we ranked number 3? Like, we are the national champions. We haven't lost. We've been beating people by.
You got to look at who LSU has beaten and their strength of schedule and in a tougher conference. And you got to look at Ohio State and who they've beaten. And I would say the Big Ten is tougher than the ACC this year. Here's the chance that if you're even going to give Virginia a chance, it's going to be a chance to stay close, not to actually win the game.
Exactly.
Their quarterback, Bryce Perkins, he's a dual threat quarterback.
Right.
I think he's accounted for about 3,500 yards in total offense this season. Mm-hmm. That, you think about lockdown defenses, which Clemson has, and I think about Alabama. But who was beating Alabama? Mobile quarterbacks. You think about Johnny Manziel did it.
Right.
And when you get a mobile quarterback against a defense that's in that mindset, and Brett Venables, all credit to him, that's an awesome job he's done. He's one of the best, if not the best DCs in college football right now. But if Virginia's, I'm just saying, going to keep it close, then a dual threat quarterback is the way you're going to do it. I just think that there's too much on the other side of the fence.
I think it is too. I mean, especially when you look at this Clemson defense. I mean, believe it or not, it seems like this defense is better than it was last year, and they had all of these defensive linemen that went first round last year.
Right.
And so when you look at Clemson's defense, their strength for some reason is their secondary, and I believe if this guy decides he wants to test this Clemson defense, you're gonna have some safeties that's gonna come up and they're gonna hit him and they're gonna let him know, no sir, not this year.
Clemson's only allowed 6 touchdowns passing the whole season.
Exactly.
6 touchdowns passing the whole season. Virginia's getting 28.5 points in this game. In a championship game, who are you taking against the spread, Chris?
I'm taking Clemson, man.
You're taking T. Higgins.
Yeah.
You're taking Travis Etienne.
Yes,
You're
I
taking
am.
Dabo.
Yes, I am.
You're taking Amari Rogers and Justin Ross.
Yeah, I'm taking, yeah.
Those 3 wide receivers have accounted for 21 touchdowns and over 2,000 yards passing.
Mm-hmm. Receiving, yeah.
They are way underrated, I think. I like Clemson in this game, too. I would lay the 28.5 points.
Right.
I just think it's going to be that dominant. I don't think Virginia has seen a defense. And frankly, I don't think that the country realizes how great Clemson's defense really is.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think they've done a great job. Let's go out to the Pac-12 and talk about the Pac-12 championship, which it seems not only this week, but all year, no one's even really talking about the Pac-12 because we thought UW, Washington, would have a better season than they did, than they really did. And that just didn't pan out. USC had a mediocre season and semi-redeemed themselves with a couple wins at the end of the season, plus an early season win over Utah. But Clay Helton's been on the firing lines, and we just got word today he's going to be back next season. I mean, Urban Meyer's right there, but enough about that. The Fighting Herminators, they made some noise. They're going in the right direction, but nothing on a national scene. Right. So we end up with a 2-loss Oregon team in the Pac-12 championship against a 1-loss Utah team who is at number 5 right now, scratching, sniffing, hoping, clawing. They win this game, there's a good chance they could be in the college football playoff.
Yes, it's a good chance. And right now, looking at Utah, I think they have the defense as well as the offense to beat Oregon.
Defense is ranked 3rd in the country overall.
Right.
That's lockdown defense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I think they have what it takes to actually put pressure on Justin Herbert. That's really going to be the secret. The key to the game is to make him turn the ball over because lately he has been turning the ball over.
He's only got 5 interceptions on the whole year, but I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the Arizona State game where in 2 consecutive series he threw 2 interceptions. In that game, he looked bipolar, and it wasn't just me. I mean, I don't know what was going on. If the crowd got to him, it was a primetime game. Maybe we just got to give credit to Arizona State. But this is how good he is that we're talking about a game where he had 2 interceptions.
Yeah.
So that tells you what you're going up against. On the other side of the fence with Utah, they have a quarterback who I think is pretty good too, Tyler Huntley, who's actually from Florida. He's a dual threat quarterback. Him and Zach Moss. Zach Moss in this game is probably going to go over 1,000 yards rushing on the season. Mm-hmm. He's dynamic. He's fast. I think the key to it is going to be Oregon getting their running game started.
Right.
Because we know they've got a passing game. And speaking of their passing game, if you love offense, watch on offense when Oregon is on the field. Don't watch Justin Herbert. Watch Johnny Johnson III. Have you seen this guy?
Yeah, that receiver is like, this is that running back?
No. He's a wide receiver.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver. Johnny Johnson, he's a junior. 49 receptions, 731 yards, 6 touchdowns. But the only thing that says on his back is speed. I mean, this guy's a speed burner.
Right.
They were down over 2 touchdowns in the second half. I think in the fourth quarter at Arizona State. He single-handedly zipped them right back into the game with 2 minutes left to go.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy is a legitimate. We're talking about getting an athlete in space. This is the guy you want to get in space because he's that fast. He reminds me of Percy Harvin.
Really?
Just yeah. I'm telling you, got to watch him this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I heard of him, but being that it's Pac-12 football, I mean, you may catch a glimpse of the game because the games come on so late in the evening. So
Chris, you got to be dedicated.
Hey man,
Now, you got to stay up.
Look, man,
and you got to be dedicated.
We got to turn around and do a show Sunday morning, man.
That's okay. You got to be educated when you're talking Sunday morning. Here's the deal. The key to Oregon winning this game is, believe it or not, in my opinion, establish the run. You got a good running back, C.J. Verdell, in the backfield. He's gone for almost 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns this season.
Right.
You establish the run to open up the pass. We know you've got a passing game.
Right.
This does two things. You get ball control offense and you run that clock. I don't want Mario Cristobal running a Gus Malzahn hurry up and snap if we get close to first down. I don't want that. I want to keep it lower and I want to control the clock. I don't want Utah on the field.
Right.
That's the whole key to the game for me. Oregon's getting 6.5 points. I am loving the 6.5 points all day long. I'm taking Oregon in the championship game to win. I'm taking Oregon to win the game. I'm taking Oregon plus 6.5. I am not ashamed of it. Where's my duck helmet at? We need to get that duck helmet up here. Oregon plus the 6.5. I think they're going to win the game outright.
Really?
I think so.
I think Utah's going to be. I think they're motivated, and I think Utah's going to pull out the win. I think they're motivated. I think they see the light at the end of the tunnel. I believe they can sneak into the playoff, and I think that's going to be just enough motivation.
I know, and Kyle Whittingham, the coach, 4- and 5-star recruits from Florida to go out to Utah. Now, Utah is probably, if it's not the most beautiful state, and I've been to a lot of them, it's up there, but there's no action. It's not Vegas, man. There's no action. If you don't like to...
What's up, Manny?
Manny wants to give his pick. Tap your thigh.
Come here, Manny. Come here, buddy.
He's just gonna sit there.
Oh,
Who's your Manny?
Manny's got buddy. There you go, buddy.
Manny's sitting on the right-hand side there.
There we go.
Manny.
There you go.
You got Oregon? Oh, look at him. He goes, Oregon. Yes.
There it is.
Oh, there he goes. All right, Manny. He's got Oregon. I've got Oregon, and you've got
Utah.
You've got Utah. All right, Manny, keep it down. Let's go to the Big 12 championship game at AT&T Stadium, Jerry World, where someone will get a win, but it's not going to be the Dallas Cowboys. But thank you. I'll be here all week. Number 6, Oklahoma, 11-1, taking on Baylor, ranked 7th, also 11-1, in a rematch from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, this is a grudge match. Unfortunately, I think Baylor. I think they have the physicality, but I don't think they have the offense. They don't have enough of the offense to pull it off the win.
So let's get in and break down this game right now. I think Matt Rule has done a great job in taking over an absolute psychotic tire fire that was left by Broyles at Baylor. Right. So let's just say right now he's done a great job doing that. That nobody had Baylor pegged to be 11-1 on the season coming into the season. No way. Right. So massive props. Great job by Matt Rule. And we know what we're getting with Oklahoma.
Yes.
We're getting awesome offense, and then we're getting a bipolar schizophrenic defense. And Manny is agreeing with me on that one. Lincoln Riley for being the young, next hot stud guy coach. Okay, great. The real thing with Oklahoma for me is Jalen Hurts. He's won in the SEC. Now he's proven he can win in the Big 12. I know the Big 12 is all offense, no defense, but he's a character guy. He doesn't make dumb mistakes. I think that Jalen Hurts is going to be the edge in this game. Here's the other thing. I really think, just like Oregon, Oklahoma has to get it started with their running game. Establish the running game with Kennedy Brooks, and then let that open up for Jalen to run or to hit CeeDee Lamb or Charleston Rambo on the outside. Both these guys are going to be NFL studs. Yes. But I think for Oklahoma, it's got to start with establish the run. Start beating up Baylor in those trenches and establish the running game to open up the pass. Jalen's a smart enough guy to see if there's a breakdown or he comes up to the line. He's kind of like a mini Tom Brady, if I can even say that. He can read the defense in such a way to know, call out of 4 or 5 guys dropping off into the secondary, and he can take off and get you 15, 20 yards real easy. But I like Oklahoma in this game, and I think it starts with opening up the run. You've got Sermon back there, and you've got Kennedy Brooks back there. Both super established, shove it right down your throat type running games. You got to start it with the run, which is weird because that's not what you think of when you think of Oklahoma. But I think that's the key to this game for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. You have to be able to out physical this Baylor defense, and if you're able to go ahead and start that, open that up, then you get, again, like you said, you get CeeDee Lamb up out of space, and the rest is history from there.
Matt Rule came out this week and said this is the most competitive group of guys that he's ever coached. They're going to need to be competitive this week. One thing I like about Baylor is they have a solid offense. They're averaging 445 yards on offense every game, but they've got to avoid turnovers. And I think they've got to keep Oklahoma off the field. Right. Everybody knows Oklahoma's explosive. Baylor's getting 8 points. I'm taking Oklahoma to win. I'm not calling it on the spread. I'm taking Oklahoma to just win the game. It doesn't mean I don't like Baylor. I think Baylor's been solid all year. I think they're top 30 in offense and defense nationally. I just think, like in game one, there's not going to be a home field advantage for Baylor this time. Right. I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the X factor in this game. Having experience, winning in the SEC, now doing it in the Big 12, plus you've got Lincoln Riley, who's an established coach. I think it's a little too much, razor thin, closer than the 8, but Oklahoma gets it done.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think Oklahoma wins by 5.
That's it. That's the big going out.
That's it. I think they win by 5.
How come I'm always out of breath and you're usually the one over there going, yes, I agree with your picks. We've got to go back and look at some of the archive picks, the archive stuff on YouTube, and see how many times your pick mirrors mine. Because I always give my pick first. We should start with bowl season. We should flip this up.
We can do that.
Yeah, that way you got to stand on your own too.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, hey, if you want to be a part of the show, there's a great way to do it. Get a hold of us, like so many other people have, at thefirstraundrd@gmail.com. Comments, questions, you like us, or you can just reach us directly on Twitter. I'm getting more and more active. It's the first round 1. At the first round 1, you can get a hold of us on Twitter. Get comments or questions in. We've answered a couple of them in the last couple of weeks, but we'll try to make it more part of the show as we go along. Let's go to the NFL right now. The big story this week is, 1, Baltimore beat San Francisco in an epic game. Right. The Patriots go down. I'm not totally too concerned. I don't like where their defense is going, but the real big story this week in the NFL is Ron Rivera getting fired at Carolina.
Yeah, and that.
And it was time.
It was time. I mean, when you look at the Carolina Panthers. I mean, they've been on the decline ever since they went to the Super Bowl, and you've had your issues with Cam Newton, and you've just had your issues with that team itself. So, the fact that Ron Rivera was let go, I mean, to me, it was about time. It was about time for them to make a change, unfortunately.
Yeah, owner of the Panthers, David Tepper, comes out today and is trying to explain why he let him go and kind of soft shoe the whole thing. Let me tell you why he got let go. Since 2016, which would have been after they went to the Super Bowl, here's their seasons. 6-10, no playoffs. The next year, 11-5, out in the first round. The next year, 7-9, no playoffs. This year, 5-7, no playoffs. Right. That's why you lost your job, especially when you signed an extension in January of 2018 for $15.5 million. $15.5 million and you're not making the playoffs, you're gone. Yeah. That's how it works. This is the NFL, not for long if you're not winning. At $15.5 million and you're looking at 6 wins, 11 wins out the first round, 7 wins and 5 wins, you're gone. Yeah. And I feel bad because Ron Rivera is a stand-up guy, but when it comes to the NFL, it's not like college football or any other sport. Right. This is kill or be killed. That's it. Everything is win. That's it. Everything is about winning. If you do not produce, you're gone. This is not personal. I think he's a character guy. I think he's a stand-up guy. He does a lot of stuff in the Charlotte area as far as giving back to the community. But you signed a contract for $15.5 million. So, with great reward with your contract comes great expectation. And the reward has been here, and the results have been down here, and it's time to go.
Yeah, it's time to go. But, I think because of his track record, I think he'll be a hot commodity.
As a coordinator.
Probably as a defensive coordinator. Or as a coordinator, possibly. Or, say, for instance, a certain team in the in the
Metro Dallas area?
No, I'm thinking about another team, the Browns.
Well, Santa Claus could do a better job coaching the Browns than Freddie Kitchen is doing right now. Do you feel bad for Ron Rivera because Cam Newton had all the talent in the world, but up here, he's worried more about the post-game press conference and what he's going to wear. It's like, he reminds me of Jameis Winston, right? I mean, like, all the talent in the world and just can't connect the maturity level to go with it. And now getting a little on in age. I hate to say that for somebody that's under 35, but now we're starting to see the wear and tear on the body with the foot issues.
Right.
Last year was the shoulder questionable thing going on with that coming into training camp. So now you get the body issues, the health issues, and you get the maturity issues that he's worried about opening up cigar bars. I want you worrying about winning championships.
Yeah, and that's something that as a head coach you have to be able to see that decline. I mean, that's the difference between the Patriots and everybody else. I mean, that's one of the things that Bill Belichick is known for. He's actually known for foreseeing the decline in a player.
Right.
And you saw that decline in a player. I mean, especially with Cam Newton, just go back to the Super Bowl when,
all the talk.
You had all the talk.
The fumble in the fourth quarter, he didn't want to dive after it. He doesn't want to talk to people after the,
Exactly.
That's the maturity. I said he reminds me of Jameis Winston. This is a reload. This is going to be a full rebuild for Carolina because Cam's going to be gone probably. Right. And even if you keep him, why am I doing that? And then Kyle Allen, he's a mediocre quarterback in the NFL. He has potential, but I don't know where we're going with that. Behind him, you've got Will Grier, first-year player out of West Virginia and formerly from Florida. So I think it's just time to hit the reset button on everything, except the secondary in Carolina.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do with McCaffrey? I mean, you going to trade him? Or
no, I think you build around McCaffrey.
Right.
And I think they've got a good secondary, but I don't think this is you're one or two free agents away. I think we're looking at a rebuild situation. You got to keep McCaffrey. He's one of the most dynamic guys in the NFL.
Right.
Speaking of coaches on fire, this coach is talking about his quarterback, Bruce Arians, head coach of Tampa. Why did you come back to take over that mess? That's what I'm asking. But he was asked about, hey, next year, where are we going? Jameis is in the last year of his contract. He's somehow getting $20 million this year. If I get another email about why do I bash Jameis Winston, $20 million a year, you've got 12 fumbles this year and 20 interceptions with 22 touchdowns. By the way, the face of the franchise has led you to a grand, awesome, whopping 5-7 record with no hope of making the playoffs. Another one who was supposed to have great upside, but up here, he's off stealing lobsters and doing stupid stuff with Uber people. I mean, it's like you can't make the connection between, you have to have it going on up here and here. Yeah. You have to be a field general, and you got to lead off the field as well. That's what you've got to do. So they asked him, hey, what's the plan for next year? He said, I'm going to pass on that question. What's there to pass on?
Well, I mean,
it's rebuild. You can't bring him back at $20 million, $5 million, $1 million. I would not sign Jameis Winston next year to a $1 million deal.
Well, no, but you have to understand from his point. I mean, it's not that the fact that he doesn't want to answer the question, but you still have the rest of the season to play, and you don't want to have that type of turmoil hanging over your team.
Rest of the season, play 5-7. There's no sniff of making the playoffs.
But you still don't
start the rebuild now.
But you don't want that drama. If you're going to start a rebuild, you start that rebuild behind the scenes. Don't air your dirty laundry out.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah. I mean, what is he going to say? He took the high road, and I get it, but I think we all know what's going on.
Right.
He's just trying to be politically correct or diplomatic, if you want to use another term.
Right.
Yeah, because I don't even. You can't bring him back.
No.
They kept Dirk Cutter there because he was supposed to be the quarterback whisperer and fix him. That didn't work, so they get rid of him. Then they bring in Byron Leftwich as the offensive coordinator, who's supposed to get in his ear. How's that working? 12 fumbles and 22 interceptions, or 20 interceptions. Right. I can't. It's
kind of hard to coach someone who thinks they know the game better than
the
head coach.
No kidding. That's why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I should be saying that, but I mean, this is what I do. What he does is supposed to win football games. I'm fairly successful at what I do. He's not successful at what he does. Moving on in NFL news, Eli Manning to start for the New York Giants this week, going on the road to Philly. Daniel Jones has an injury. I don't even know why I'm covering this. This is probably his last start in his career, but I just threw it out there. He's done. He's been done.
Yeah, I mean, he's been done now for years. I mean, he was the interception magnet until Jameis took his throne.
Can you believe how bad the Giants have actually gotten? And in that division?
Yeah.
I mean, Philly isn't consistent.
Nope. Dallas.
The Redskins, Daniel Snyder just came out this week, is like, I'm going to blow everything up. And then go do what? Throw money at a bunch of other people? All you do is throw money at the Jay Grudens of the world and stars that don't pan out.
Right.
I think it starts with getting rid of Daniel Snyder. If you want, I mean, how do you get rid of the owner? I don't know. If you figure it out, go tell Jerry Jones. He's the one keeping Dallas from being in the playoffs or the Super Bowl. Moving on to NBA news. I know you probably saw this yesterday, but this just absolutely blew my mind. Because you're talking about referees in the NBA, which, I mean, the NBA, I don't even start talking about it until February, if I absolutely have to and there's a gun at my head. But this story was so out of my mind. I mean, I can't even believe this. James Harden is playing for Houston against San Antonio, comes down completely by his own. Nobody around him. No one within the same zip code. Nobody within 50,000 miles of him. Slam dunk, and it comes through the net. The net grabs the ball, brings it up over the rim, and then falls to the side. And the two refs that are down there both call no basket as the ball went through the net. And he slammed it so hard, the net caught it and brought it back up onto the rim where it fell off the other side, and they called no basket on this. How do you not have instant replay on a play like this is the first thing. And how do you miss it? One of the refs was literally 4 feet away. I mean, they showed it on SportsCenter so many times. It's all over the internet today. You're 4 feet away. You get $80,000. You have one job to do. Does the ball go in the hoop? That's it. If you don't absolutely know, you go to your backup. You both got it wrong. Everybody in the arena knows you got it wrong. And you go over and check instant replay, but they're not allowed to. And by the way, Houston lost by 2. So the fallout from this is Houston comes out today and wants a resolve from the NBA. This is, I don't even know what's funnier. The fact that a slam dunk didn't get counted as 2 points, or the proposition to resolve that Houston presented to the NBA. Are you ready for this? They want to put the 7 minutes back on the clock and count the basket and play the rest of the game. It's not rocket surgery. It's just not. You don't have to be that smart to figure out that idea is not going to work. Put 7 minutes back in the game in what arena? I mean, are you serious and play the last 7 minutes? Or the idea that I think is you add those 2 points. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you add the 2 points. I'm a fan of that. But then you have a 135 game. Now what? You count it as a tie? Has there ever even been a tie in the NBA?
I have never seen a tie in the NBA.
I'm getting an aneurysm right now in my head, man. My brain is starting to bleed because of stories like this.
I mean, to me, you have to take. I mean, it's something it's hard to do. I mean, what you going to say? The win away from San Antonio?
I don't know.
I mean,
it's got to start with fine, suspend, or both. The referees that were involved.
Right.
It's got to start with that. Above and beyond that, I don't know. I mean, this is like, it reminds me of the Saints NFC Championship game against the Rams. You've got to have something in place where you're able to look at a slam dunk that goes through the hoop. Yeah. I can't get into it any more than that. It's just driving me crazy. And while we're on stories about crazy, a complete side story just for comedic humor. Tampa Bay proposed. Tampa Bay, I've been down to that stadium. Right. I'm a Red Sox fan. This is a known thing. And I've been down there. It's basically like a mausoleum had a child with a carnival. Yeah. That's what that stadium is like. It's not baseball friendly. It's indoors. There's 2 rows of metal halos that conflict with the rules of the game because if it hits one, it's in play still. Right. And if it hits the other one, it's out of play. Right. The cowbells, there's carpet, there's no grass. I mean, it just goes on and on. It's a carnival of insanity. So they went to Ybor City and said, look, we'll throw some money into getting a baseball-only stadium in Ybor City. Mm-hmm. And that fell through. So the next obvious logical explanation when you can't get a stadium built 20 miles away in a lot more tourist-friendly right on I-4, right there where you have people getting on and off real easily to get into the stadium or get out after the game. Obviously, what you do is you go to the city council in Tampa Bay and say, we have the solution. What we want to do is play half the games here in this Carnival Mausoleum, and our other half of our home games will obviously play in Montreal, Canada. That's how we grow the fan base. We get people who haven't had baseball in the last 30 years since the Expos left and went to Washington. We'll fly up there and get people in Montreal, Canada to become fans of the the Tampa Bay Rays. I don't even know where to put this, Chris. I need a good story here tonight because it's like...
well, Brainiacs, why don't you just move to Montreal? Who will welcome your team back?
That's even worse. You got to convert all those people in Montreal to like baseball from South Florida.
You're not.
You got to change the name. You got to probably retrofit Montreal Olympic Stadium. I mean, that's an Olympic stadium. It's not a baseball stadium. And how many people in? There's a reason why the Expos left. Why am I going to Montreal?
I mean, Montreal already had a franchise. I mean, it'll be just like moving back to Seattle in the NBA.
You know what? I have one idea to solve that whole thing.
What's that?
Just throw it up in the air, man. I'm just like so stupid.
Okay.
Go to Montreal.
Go back to Montreal. I mean, they...
Okay. We need a good story. You know, we're always searching for good stories in the first round. I look over the news. I know Chris does, and you usually have good stories to follow up with. I don't even know. Are you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter, but let me tell you, I may have tweeted 5 times.
5 tweets? I've seen people on Twitter. So I got on Twitter about 2 months ago or so. I am the least technical person on this planet.
Right.
I mean, one thing I can't stand is when Ray Boom Boom says, hey, Ron, what about this? And I said, look, rule number 1, if it has to do with technology, don't ask me. I'll just punch you. I mean, I don't want to have anything. Just fix it. It drives, you know this.
Yes.
I mean, if I can't get something working, Twitter, I don't do social media that much. I don't do Facebook. What was the one before that? MySpace?
MySpace, yeah.
I never did MySpace. Facebook, nothing on that. Okay, so you and some other people have talked me into, hey, let's build your social media platform. Let's go on Twitter. Okay, fine. I'll try to get on Twitter. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Right.
I've noticed a couple things.
What is that, bro?
Well, I'll tell you. One, people are really passionate about politics on Twitter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I saw this thing, and hang with me for a second. It's going to wrap around to sports in a second. But I'm in this circle. I don't know how things work, but like I'm connected to a lot of fans in Georgia for some reason. Right. I follow this one lady, and she's a real big fan, and she's also awesome on Twitter. Her name is Kitty something, but awesome person. And for 99% of them, it's no cursing, and they're just big fans, and they want to, raise awareness about great things that are going on with Georgia. But somehow I got connected. Someone's trying to connect to me right now. Hey, you're in the first round with Ron Dahlbeck. We're right in the middle of a show right now, and if you're calling from California, we appreciate it, but you'll have to call us back, and thanks for calling. All right, so I thought I had my ringer off on the show there. So, where was I? Oh, Georgia. Okay, so I've got into this loop of people that talk like diehard politics for some reason. Right. I mean, they're using like hashtags like MAGA, CAGA, LibCon. I mean, it's just like, it's like Klingon and hieroglyphics from Egypt got together. I don't even know what half this stuff is. I'm just trying to stay afloat and be polite. And half my stuff is like, hey, how about not fighting? And let's have peace and harmony and stuff like that. So I get these stories that come across every so often, and I read them, and I try and put out intelligent stuff about sports or just being kind to each other. Right. And so this thing came across my Twitter sphere today. And it was a story, and like I said, we look for good stories. But it was a story about this football player that's from McClenny, Florida, which is right up the road from us, up on I-10 next to Jacksonville, named Jonathan Woods. He ended up going to college in Alabama, and I think playing for Troy. where he was a linebacker and played defense, and not an All-American by any stretch of the imagination, but went to play as I think a free agent in 2011 with the Atlanta Falcons, and then played for the Montreal Alouettes, and the last couple seasons he's been with the Toronto Argonauts.
Right.
If you try to look him up, you won't find standout awesome stories about he's, this awesome NFL prospect working his way back, or his statistics are so incredible like he's going to make the Hall of Fame anywhere. That's not really where the story is. Okay. The story with this guy is the fact that he's just genuinely an awesome human being who cares about other people. And let me tell you why. So the lady I was telling you about, to circle back, that I talk with sometimes on Twitter, her name's Kitty. I really don't even know what her real name is. But apparently he was in the same middle school as she was a teacher, I believe. And she challenged him, asked him, suggested to him growing his hair out. So you've heard of Love for Locks, where you have long hair and you can cut it off and they'll make wigs for kids that have terminal or less than terminal position with cancer, stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. And they lose their hair, and then they can have real human hair. Right. And it helps them with their dignity. It helps them with their overall, feeling about themselves, their self-esteem. And I don't know what it's like to go through cancer. I hope I don't know. And we should be praying and trying to reach out to people that do have cancer, especially if you haven't had it. I can't even imagine what it's like to hear that word and have some strange human being that's a doctor tell you, hey, we ran some tests and you have cancer. Right. This is exactly why we try to get behind St. Jude Children's Hospital, to raise awareness about cancer. And then I heard a statistic that pediatric cancer research only accounts for 2% of the government's money that goes into cancer research. Only 2% of it is, and that's a whole nother story. But so this guy has grown his hair out multiple times. Jonathan Bear Woods, his nickname is Bear, and there's a picture of him right up here, hopefully right now. And he's donated his hair to these children. Beyond that, that's just a cool story there. He also made a promise to God that he would not cut his hair anymore, and he would never drink alcohol or wine. Oh, wow. That's a pretty strong thing. And you and I have a lot of talks about God and, Bible canonization, and we try to live our lives in a way that we think is right, where we, treat people with kindness and so on and so forth. But this guy really does it. In the off seasons, when he's not playing football, he's working with local ministry groups and giving back to the community in that way, above and beyond the promises that he made about, not allowing alcohol to be a destructive force in his life, and donating his hair to Love and Locks. So I just thought it was a really cool story that I wanted to share with you guys. If you know about this guy, awesome. Tweet out something positive. If you don't know about him, there's not a ton of social media out there on him, but his name is Jonathan. Nickname is Bear. Last name Woods. He plays for the Toronto Argonauts. He just signed a new contract with them. So 2 thumbs up for Jonathan Woods. That's my good, happy, feel-good story for the day today. You normally have these stories, so what else is going on in the world of sports, Chris?
Man, that's kind of hard to follow, man.
No, that's a great, isn't it great?
That's great, though.
Look, in the NFL, we hear about what? We matriculate towards the drugs, the DUIs, the beating of the wife, the domestic abuse, which goes both ways. Domestic abuse goes both ways. But we hear about those stories. How many times do we hear stories about genuinely good guys like this that aren't out there and being self-motivated, self-promoters, building a brand for themselves? I mean, I went on his Twitter account. The last time he had a tweet, I think, was 2011. He's not out there promoting himself. He is like this, looking at everyone else. Right. And so many guys in sports, I don't want to name names, there's a lot of them out there, they look like this. Their eyes don't go out and look at everybody else and how can I help other people? And there are a lot of stories like that, but so many of them in the news gets captured and they're looking into themselves about how great they are, building their brand, so on and so forth. So I just thought it was an awesome story, and 2 thumbs up to that guy. What else you got for us?
To follow up on that. Oh, man. The NBA has now started a league in Africa, which will start in March, which is a 12-team league.
They're going to be the financial umbrella over this league, the WNBA? It was
started. It's going to be started with FIBA, with coordination with FIBA. the federal, the International Federation of Basketball Association. So it's going to be conjoined with FIBA, but I think there's something big because you have, the team like Team Africa. Like 2 years ago, they had Team Africa versus the world, basically Team World, and so I think it's big. I mean, because you have players like Pascal Siakam who plays for the Toronto Raptors.
Right, Manute Bol.
Manute Bol, right. So you have so many players that are now starting to come from Africa that are making impact in the NBA, and I think it's good that the NBA is giving back to Africa as far as starting their league over there.
I think that's dynamic. They want to globalize just like everybody else. You see the NFL going down to Mexico, and you see the NFL going over to Great Britain a lot, and there's even talks of having games in Japan. That seems like a lot of jet fuel going wasted. I got to bring something up. So the little elves on the staff came in and decorated, and you didn't even say anything. Did you?
Wait a minute. So you have little elves coming in here to decorate, and
they put up some Christmas stuff, which is my favorite time of the year.
But wait a minute. I heard something about your birthday that's supposed to happen 2 years from now. What's going on 2 years from now, man? What's going on? The little elves they were talking as they were.
Yes, I am planning my 50th birthday years in advance. It's going to be the Manny. Manny's excited. So I'm planning it 2 years from now. It's going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be at Omnia, and it's going to be off the chain. But I want to plan it now. And you know what? People that I talk to, I've actually talked about this out in the town, and there's people like, yeah, that's a cool idea. So. I don't know where you're going on which side of the fence you're going to be on, but 2 years planning out for Ron's 50th birthday, which I just gave it away. I'm 48, and it's going to be my Grand Jubilee 50th party in Las Vegas 2 years from now. You can get reservations online at our website. That music can mean only one thing. It's time to very quickly wrap up our show. We thank you for joining us. I want to thank our support staff, the man on the board, Rain Boo Boo Mancini. The man to my left here, my co-host, Chris Roberts, here in the St. Jude studios. And for all of us, El Presidente Chet 41, thank you for watching us here on the first round. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell all your friends about how great of an entertaining show we did tonight. Spread the word about the first round so we can grow to epic proportions. We'll be right back here Sunday morning. We thank all of you for listening. Check us out then live on YouTube talking about everything going on in the world of sports. Until then, take care, everybody.